Welcome to the Regulate Your Nervous System mini workshop on how to connect in a world of individualism. Um, my intention for these sessions are actually really to bring in a little moment of pause into our busy worlds. And so far, I have done them in quite a workshop style with some input and slides and everything, plus uh, plus an experience. But today, I want to do things a little bit different. I don't want to waste too much of your time. I know our lives are busy, and that's also good to an extent. And so I want to bring in a moment of pause. So, giving you an experience, and then I have some time in the end where I would like to open the mic for any questions, shares, experiences, etc. What not. So these sessions are scheduled for about 30 to 45 minutes, meaning 30 minutes with the experience and potential input, and then the rest also uh, for a conversation. I want this to be an open dialogue and for people who join to have the opportunity to have a conversation. Maybe because they, in their own life, they don't have people that they can actually talk to about certain things and ask certain questions because they feel that nobody else experiences life as they, so nobody else would really understand me. Real quick to myself, my name is Fabienne. Some of you already know me. Transformational heart and mindset coach. I help primarily ambitious women with ADHD create lives of ease, peace, and unapologetic personal power because life really is too precious to waste on overthinking and undervaluing ourselves. So I guide women to reconnect with themselves and their boldest visions, help them ditch the noise and reclaim their power with the right mindset and the right heart set tune-ups, practical tools, and facilitate deep understanding of life's mechanics and also in between relationships. And together, we make ADHD less of a burden and more of a secret love affair. That being said, I am open for conversations for anyone. So if you're here and you don't identify as a woman or have ADHD, I'm pretty sure you can still take something from this too. My intention I already shared just a second ago, so we're going to keep going and have a little bit of an experience. So I would like for us to move through a few exercises to regulate the nervous system, to experience moments of peace and joy, and also maybe a little bit of awkwardness. So feel free to turn off your camera as well if you don't feel comfortable in certain things. Definitely also turn off the audio because we are gonna use our voice at some point. And and then yeah, and then we can have a conversation about everything afterwards. I also want to mention that previous to my weekly set or my bi-weekly sessions online, I always share a newsletter on the specific topic that we're going to look at and experience in the live session. So if you haven't watched that or read that yet, I highly recommend you go and find that on my LinkedIn profile. And maybe just for to know, have you who are present here read the article yet on the nervous system or not?
No,
Not yet. Okay,
I admit it.
cool. So just so that I know. But in this article, I share a little bit more about nervous system and some resetters. And we're going to go through them right now so that you can actually experience them. And yeah, no, that's too far already. So we're going to start with a nervous system reset that a lot of so-called unhealthy people in today's world, called smokers, are doing very regularly. And that is going outside and take a few deep puffs. And it's actually very interesting that smokers get to take a lot of breaks throughout the day, and it's just called normal and it's accepted because they need that break to go and have a smoke. They're experiencing a few benefits of that. First of all, they have to go outside most of the time, so they get fresh air, even though with the smoke, but there's also fresh air. There's oftentimes also an aspect of socializing because others might also join for that smoke. And non-smokers have a tendency to just continue working, not getting outside, not taking these deep breaths. So I want to encourage you to think about that and also claim for yourself every now and then to take a breather and go outside. Call it your smoke break, right? So just for a moment right now, take a seat. If you're standing, you can also just shake your shoulders a little bit and take a moment and close your eyes. And then I want you to imagine, if you're not a smoker, if you're a smoker, you know how to do that, to slightly open your lips and like if you would drink from a straw or you would sip in air from a straw, breathe in air. And then pause at the top for a couple of seconds, relaxing the shoulders and exhaling fully and completely out through the mouth again. Full open mouth, just let it out. And do that a few more times, breathing in through this straw experience. Filling the lungs with air, relaxing the shoulders, relaxing the forehead and the jaw. And then exhale fully and completely, letting go. And do 3 or 4 more in your own rhythm. And feel free to explore the stillness and the fullness of the breath in between the inhalation and the exhalation. It's in that pause and in that stillness that a lot of the anchoring and sinking can happen. Breathing in through the straw, full yet stay soft in your body. And exhaling fully and completely, open mouth, letting it go. Maybe play with full open mouth or straw mouth to breathe out as well. And just notice the effects. And take one more. And then pause for a moment. Allow the breath to move naturally again without you actively changing anything. And then open your eyes again, slowly, softly. Good. Do you feel like sharing how that felt? You can write it in the chat box or also speak if you're not camera shy before we move to the next.
Yes, I can share.
Thank
Yeah, I'm
you.
not shy. Yeah, it was interesting because I've I always focus on breathing through the nose and intentionally doing it through the mouth. I took some resistance, and then I get like a dry mouth quite fast in a way, and then it's like doing something out of the ordinary, right? In a way, because I really trained myself very deliberately, breathing only through the nose, and I tape my mouth at night, so I breathe in, and I do my workouts only through the nose. And now doing the opposite is like, oh, okay, let's do this. And it's kind of funny because just when was it? Like literally on Monday, I've never done it before. I've done holotropic breathing, I think it's called. Somebody just told me like literally last week, and I've done it again through the mouth, and it was very interesting experience. And so now it's kind of funny that like 2 days after, then you also do this exercise like through the mouth. So yeah, anyhow.
Interesting. And how did you feel throughout? Did you feel a shift in energy while you were breathing, or tenseness or softness in the body that happened?
Yeah, I was just more irritated. Like, where should I breathe? Like into the stomach or into the? Because like when I breathe in through the mouth, it's automatically the chest goes up, and it's counterintuitive what I usually do. Like I usually try to breathe into the belly deep, and now I was like, okay, like where's my breath actually going right now? So it was, yeah,
Cool.
yeah.
Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing. And yes, why did I choose to breathe through the mouth? Is really just as that symbolic smoker's break. And it's good to it's good to do both. And also you just mentioned
Mm,
that when you breathe through the nose, you breathe deeper into the belly. And now when you breathe through the mouth, it felt like more
mm.
only in the lungs, right?
Yeah.
Always breathe into all directions, but like how consciously can we do it? So my invitation for you now is to explore this breath through the mouth and also generate it with that full expansion all the way into the belly area as well, right?
Mm.
Because it's just patterns that you haven't explored, so your body
Yeah.
is used to that.
Yes.
Breathing through the nose is highly, highly recommendable. Definitely. So this exercise can also be done breathing in through the nose and exhaling fully out through the mouth. So
Mm, mm,
absolutely. Cool. Thank you. Next exercise, turn your audio off. The next exercise, the next nervous system regulation practice that I want to share with you is humming or singing. And I don't know about you, but I remember that my grandparents and even my dad used to do that when we were little. They were always singing and summing and humming different like songs. Sometimes it was a song, sometimes it was not really a song, which is just noise coming out of them. And recently I don't really observe people doing that. But I've incorporated that into my own life and into my own being with myself and regulating. Obviously, came into this using humming through the yoga practice, where we use Om as a very intentional humming. But it doesn't have to be Om for us to generate a really deep and soothing sound. If you have an Om in practice, definitely do that. If not, and it feels too spiritual, don't let the good feeling and the calm nervous system to be just for the yogis. We get to do that too. And so I invite you now to just take a minute or two to simply hum. Maybe you have a song that comes to mind. If you don't have a song, just start humming random tones. It does not have to sound good. Uh, If you have a song and you want to sing, you can also sing. And otherwise, just hum, like just on a flat tone. But explore that for a moment. Feel free to get off camera, definitely off microphone, and take a moment. I am not going to disturb you with my noise, so you just get to explore some silence and your own humming. And I trust that you do it on your end. Enjoy the experience. Mm. And then slowly wrap it up. And take a moment to feel the vibrations and the sensation in the body right now. Maybe even closing your eyes and observing if there is nervousness that came up, if there is a sense of soothing. Did the humming and singing get easier as you went than when you started? And were there maybe some thoughts also that were happening as you went through the exercises? And again, if you feel like it, really only if you feel like it, you can share. Otherwise, we move to the next exercise. Yes, please.
Yeah. Yes, it was. I did something. Yeah, it was interesting to notice when you pay attention to the humming where it is in your body, and then to follow it through different parts. Like when you start at the bottom, and then you follow the hum, how it's coming up, and I think it took 2, 3 attempts until you get comfortable a little bit with it, definitely. And then I think it was after the third or so where also then you notice like, oh, there's tension all over the shoulders and all over the backs, which is kind of like quite pointless, right? Like, why is there tension now? And then you're like, and then you just let it go all of a sudden. Yeah, so that was quite nice.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for the share. Yeah, to me, it's definitely, it has this self-soothing effect. I eventually also went off a microphone and I started humming for myself. And at first, it's just random tunes. And then all of a sudden, the brain connects it to a certain song. And then it ends up getting into this song. And then thoughts come of like, huh, where did that song come from? And actually, it's quite nice. And there's some memories that are going with that song. And so you can dive into this experience again. And it's just singing to my little self as well sometimes, just like it's all right. Everything is fine. So I really like that practice and definitely, yeah, this can take up so many forms as well. Like even bursting out, singing out super loud in a car or under the shower or wherever you want to do that as well has a huge effect on our nervous system, on regulating ourselves by just using the voice in a very laissez-faire manner. And it doesn't have to sound good, it doesn't have to be perfect. Just using that voice is so, so powerful. And it helps us also using our voice in conversations eventually and in speaking up for ourselves and into asking what we need. Number three, and then I have one more that's very, very important for me. Um, Number three is the freeze mode. Put the freeze mode on. And that might be a little bit counterintuitive because we don't want to go into fight, flight, freeze mode. But the intention here is going to freeze mode into pressing pause and just be. So you can do this anywhere, really. Maybe not exactly when you're in a conversation with somebody else, maybe don't do it there. But the idea here is that you take a moment, you either lay on the floor, on the bed, somewhere on a couch, and you just literally stare at the ceiling with soft eyes and just gaze at the ceiling. Maybe you observe your breath, but you don't really have to do anything. You can notice a ticking clock, you can notice a humming bird, you can notice kids crying or whatever, like whatever is going on around you, it can be, and you're just there, pausing. and taking maybe 3 deep breaths and then just let it flow again. So right now, in this setting, well, if you have a couch or something, I invite you again to do that. Lay down. If you can't lay down, you can just pick a spot in the room that you want to stare at and then just stare at that. It can literally be anything. And just for about a minute, I'm going to put the timer on again. Just for about a minute, just stare at that thing. Try to not think too much. Allow thoughts to come and go, but don't get caught up in them. Just stare at that thing. Do you have something? Awesome. So the timer is on now. Just look at it with soft eyes, with a soft gaze, allowing thoughts to come, but don't hold on to them. No need to spin a story around them, just gaze. Maybe you take note of your body as well again, of the way that you're breathing. Maybe you notice that a spontaneous sigh is happening, or maybe even a yawn, deep swallows. And then slowly bring your gaze away again and come back. A minute is really not too long. I recommend that doing this exercise for about 3 to 5 minutes would be ideal. Anything longer as well, obviously. But 3 to 5 is a good minimum amount. Any sharing?
Yeah, there I can see like how it gets more effective after a couple of minutes. Like I think the first half a minute that you need to settle down, take notice of your breath, what is happening, and I think then after the effect starts to really happen. Yeah.
Yeah. Was there any tension around your eyes or neck that you felt?
Not at the beginning. Not at the beginning. I was more like looking up. First, I wanted to look at the palm, and then I have like a trippy elephant here, actually right next to me. It's like, oh yeah, that's it's a colorful. And then when after some funny chocolate, like it may like it starts to vibrate, and so I was looking at the elephant here.
Um, you don't need funny chocolate to see these colors.
Yes, 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 and it's just okay. Like what's coming up, and then in see the reflection back on your body in a way like, oh, okay, I know the breath did this, or now like there's this tension at the shoulder that all came back. Like, oh, I can release again, like something like that. Yeah. Mhm.
But just really saying, if I dare you or I challenge you to try that out at some point. Maybe even put a timer for 5 to 10 minutes, and then just look at that picture, at that image for that long, and try to soften your gaze and lose the actual picture and just lose yourself in the texture of it.
Mm,
Forgetting
mm,
about the object when you stare at the object and thinking, oh, I'm looking at a lamp or I'm looking at the ceiling. But like, okay, what can the eye or the brain start perceiving when we stop making a specific construct
mm,
of it, right? Because
mm,
you see a lamp because your brain has made certain connections about certain things. And that's why when you're concentrated on it, that's what you see. But when you allow yourself to relax that a little bit, you
mm,
get to start noticing that your eyes can make things move, and then all of a sudden things don't look like what they actually
Mm.
supposed to be. So that's quite an interesting experience as well. And it doesn't take to do that. Holotropic
it-
breathing beforehand also can enhance that ability, because
mm,
then the brain, the nervous system really relaxes, and it's not so tense on needing to know exactly what is, and it's more creative and more open to experience things in different ways. And that's
mm,
really where we want to go to when we regulate our nervous system, to be able to see things for what we wanted to see, or what it is, but without these specific constructs. It's very nuanced, right? And to one extent, we see what we want to see, but then is it really what this thing is? And if we are in a survival mode, then it's very important for the brain to know everything and to be in control and to be in detail and predictability. Whereas when we move into safety, ease in our body and in our nervous system, then we can see things from more creative perspectives, less predictable and more possible. Like,
mm,
what can be from that? And what else could this be if it wasn't just that label? So
mm.
that's a quite interesting thing to ponder. But I don't want to leave you without my most favorite, most simple, and most effective nervous system regulation exercise, and that's the beach pose. You might have experienced it already with me previous to that, but you might have forgotten about it too. This exercise helps the vagus nerve, specific, like all of these work with the vagus nerve in one way or another. The beach pose specifically in multiple ways. One, because we are using a posture like we are laying on the beach. Fingers interlaced behind the head, ideally laying down in your bed or on a flat ground. But it can also be done. What does that do when we have our armpits open and our arms, our hands interlaced behind the head? What does that physical posture signal to the brain? Is that a posture that we would need to protect ourselves, or is that a posture that signals there is no threat around, I'm safe, right? So when we are fully open like this, then we are not expecting any threat. And that's a signal that the body then can bring to the brain, which then tells the brain to tell the nervous systems like, hey guys, we're safe. We can go into digestion, healing mode, rejuvenation, whatever we need to do in order to keep this body well and function. So that's part one of this exercise, laying on the ground like this. Part two is using the eyes. So we're going to gaze with the eyes all the way to the left for about 45 to 60 seconds, not straining the eyes, not turning the head. So the nose either points forward or up to the ceiling, depending if you're laying or sitting, and just the eyes are moving to the side. What does that do? The muscles of the eyes and nerves of the eyes are connected directly to the vagus nerve. And so stimulating and moving the eyes helps regulate the nervous system tremendously as well. So this exercise takes literally 2 minutes max. I love to do that in the morning when I wake up, and in the evening just before I fall asleep, because I'm in bed anyway, I'm laying down anyway. There is nothing, there's no excuse but to put the pillows away, right? That's the only effort that I need to do. So for you to hopefully already experience even a physical shift, I invite you to sit straight or stand straight and just look with your head over to the left side as far as you can. And notice where the tension stops and how strong the tension is, if there is a certain pain or strain on that side. And just take a mental picture of how far your head goes without any pain. And then over to the right side. Notice how far it goes. Good. And just take that mental picture. We're going to do the exercise now. So interlace your hands, put them behind your head. Do you have a backrest? You're standing, right? Can you lay down
Yeah,
for a moment?
but I can sit down over there. Yeah.
Go and lay down
Okay.
for a moment.
Yes, yes, yes. I'm going to be here. Mm.
And you can hear me, right?
Yes, I have you on my headset.
So then put your hands behind your head, elbows out, legs out wide, and then simply bring your gaze all the way to the left side, making sure that the nose keeps pointing straight up towards the ceiling. And then observe your breathing. Allow the breath to flow slower and maybe deeper. This exercise is beautifully paired with the box breathing as well. Or just simply breathing in for the count of 4, breathing out for the count of 4 to have that steady rhythm. And then in this exercise, we want to start paying attention to some natural nervous system resets that the body does or likes to do. One of them is yawning. Another is deep sighing. Yet another is swallowing. Burping can actually also be one, and the belly and stomach to start grumbling. Whether one of these have happened spontaneously or not, slowly start bringing your eyes over to the right side or your gaze, keeping the nose up straight, and look as far to the right as it feels more or less comfortable. I know that at the beginning this can feel quite strenuous for the eyes, potentially giving slight headache as well. We don't want to force it, but that means that there is tension in your eyes, and obviously then also in your neck. Again, try to keep a steady breathing rhythm, slow and soft, and observe any spontaneous nervous system resets of a yawn, swallow, sigh, gurgling of the stomach, the intestines. And whether one of those has happened or not. Slowly bringing the gaze back to center. And if there's a yawn happening now, you can do that. If not, that's also fine. And slowly come back. How was that experience?
Yes, you're in again. Um, yeah, it took more effort than I thought to keep the eye in one direction. Wow, I did not expect that, to be honest. Um, I did have a yawn on the first one, so there was that, and it was concentrating on that position in a way, even though it's absurdly simple, right? And yeah, yeah, but we'll definitely do it again and try that and try that again and see what's gonna come up. It made me feel a little bit uncomfortable in a way, and it's like, oh, okay, that's kind of odd. Like, let's see what comes next.
It's more and more comfortable. This has been a huge game changer for me when I first did
Mm,
that for a good consecutive days, like 10-day sequence.
mm,
I started noticing an immense shift in my feeling safe in social gatherings. At that point, I had like weird social anxiety, like what are people thinking about me? I'm so awkward, nobody likes me. All the things, right? Like just not feeling comfortable. And after doing that for 10 days in a row, every morning, every evening, I started feeling
Mm.
much more relaxed when I was in similar settings.
Mm.
So there's definitely something to that. And actually, you can just try it out now to turn your head again and see if there's a difference in terms of how far it goes or how tense it is.
Yeah, I feel definitely a difference between like the left and the right. Like
Mhm.
there's a noticeable difference.
Was that different? Was that the same before or was it different?
Also before, also before, and now it just the orientation there is a little bit smoother in a way. I mean, also because now I did it also the second time, but generally it's about like just when you're at the edge of it, right? Like what happens there? Like this is when it's getting interesting, right? And then pay attention to that to that shift or like, to that moment when it just starts to get uncomfortable. Yeah.
So yes, I definitely encourage anyone to try that out, see how it potentially changes certain, yeah, the way that you feel in certain normally stressful situations, because it's really the way we experience life and interactions has so much to do with how we feel in our bodies and if we are feeling safe or stressed. If our body, our nervous system is in a constant stress mode, it's always on survival mode, right? It's always up to everything that comes to or comes at us is perceived as a threat. So it's being feeling attacked. So then it fights back or it flees or it freezes and just shuts down completely. Whereas when we feel, when we feel safe in our body and our nervous system is regulated and well and healthy, then we get to use our brain first, our cognitive brain, to assess the situation and see, is this really a threat? Or is this just the other person doing their own thing? And I get to do my own thing. And I get to recognize that and don't need to take it personal. I don't need to make this mean anything about me because there is no threat. The only threat eventually here is my own thinking about the situation. They're not going to kill me, right? Most of us really don't live in a environment that is life threatening. And yet our nervous system behaves that way if it's in stress response. So yeah, those were a few simple exercises that can be integrated in our daily lives in so many easy, simple ways. Doesn't need to be a routine. It doesn't need to be sitting in meditation every morning and humming for an hour in order for the nervous system to be regulated. These practices get to be done throughout the day, constantly and consciously at first, until they become second nature. Like animals do them so beautifully. If you observe a dog, for example, it's like as soon as there's a threat and the threat is past, they shake it off, and then they're gone, right? When Yeah, for cats, it's like the stretch. Just observe animals in their behavior, and even children, little children as well. They just naturally do that. And then for some reason, we kind of like unlearn these things because we're told that they're weird, or we think that they're weird, like the humming and the singing, the talking to ourselves. It's like, oh, only insane people talk to themselves. Like, no, actually, talking to yourself is sanity. Um, so, so yeah, finding these new ways and then learning how to become resilient in stressful situations, to know that it's actually not a stressful situation, it's just a stressful experience of it because I'm already in a stressed state.
Hmm.
So, what can I do to get myself out of that stress state so that I can experience stressful situations more calmly and more playfully as well again? Time flies when you're having fun, right?
Hmm.
I hope
Yeah,
you.
almost an hour. Yeah.
No, 40 minutes. We
So,
started at 10 past. So I'm still in my, I'm still
because
just
yeah,
got
because I had it blocked for half an hour. Like is the same. Yeah. I
very,
was like, okay, I'm curious. Like it's gonna like a short, but then it extends. Yeah, I understand.
I thought this is not gonna fill the half an hour, but you know,
And it was just the two of us, you know. Like,
that's why it went longer probably. No, this is not what I want. Um, okay.
Hmm. I had a thought that also came up while you were explaining this and like with the gaze and beyond that, um I will implement it and I want to see how where this will bring me in terms of like the morning and the evening routine. But beyond me, I just thought because we said also when you how do you notice this in animals or in children and how they express it? And it's literally what like yeah, my son is 4.5. And he's expressing his frustration and na and I was so far I've been trying to invite him like to pay attention like, to his breath and like to use this as an anchor and like to release. And maybe I will also try to I will see like how that goes to tell him like, hey, why don't you just try to look to your left for like a
But just
minute
the
and then
beach
see.
pose, like make introduce him to the beach pose, and then anytime he
Oh, the
feels
beach was is even easier. Yeah, it's easier to
stressed,
start.
just like introduce him to that, and then he can just go in a quiet corner and he can just do beach pose. I actually did that with my partner.
Hmm.
Um, he got that cue when he notices that I'm like freaking out and things like this. Instead of him trying to solve my problem, which is usually not what I need, to just ask me, when was the last time you've done your beach pose? I'm like, oh,
Uh,
yes, all right, right? And that helps. It helps because it brings me right back into my center, into my anchor. And the beach pose might be the thing. Maybe for somebody else, it might be something else. But just finding our anchors, our moments of resetting
Mm.
is huge. And actually, one more thing that I would want to mention, because you just mentioned children, and when I started learning about these nervous sets and the yawning, I had myself as a child very strongly in my head. How I used to throw temper tantrums in the supermarket, anywhere, right? Like if I didn't get what I wanted, I would like start crying and yelling and crying and crying and crying. And in that moment, it was real. Like it was a sincere emotion, a sincere thing that needed to be expressed. But then like all of a sudden, I would have this urge to yawn. And then you can't stop that. Like the yawning is just happening. I'm thinking of it now, I feel like I need to yawn. And during that yawning, the crying and the screaming stops. And then you come back and you actually come, but you remember, your little ego remembers, like, no, but I'm on a mission. So I need to start crying. But now it's a forced crying. Right? So that yawning actually did reset my system in that very moment. My brain then told me to, no, I need to get back into that drama. And so now when I yawn, I have such a different relationship to these moments of yawning, of just opening the jaw and everything, that
Mm,
it does something and it calms,
mm,
not just because I'm tired, because my system is
mm,
like resetting itself. And so when we learn about these things, it's huge how our experience of something, even just such a thing as yawning. Before I thought I'm just tired. Now I know I'm not necessarily tired. Maybe
Mm.
it's just a reset. And that's
Yeah.
I think that's really, really cool.
Yeah, that's awesome to expand the perception of yawning just as a body fatigue, right? As an indicator for that. It's like, oh no, maybe there's more to that. And at some point, it's been years that people that scientists still have not really uncovered. uh, Why do people do that? And I think they've noticed that it can be contagious, but why actually?
And
What's the
again,
point
why?
of?
So that brings us that would bring the next connection of like co-regulating almost also.
Mm,
Like if I'm young,
yeah.
means I'm relaxing, so then I signal the other person that they get to relax too.
Mm, yeah, yeah. It's
I
a
have
safe space, right?
no proof
Yeah.
of that. It's just, you put one and one together. And yes, actually, so the last exercise that I share in the article as well is fabulous connections. It's creating these moments of real connection with other people.
Mm,
Whether that doesn't have to be deep talk, it can just be sincere small talk as well. But just being with that person, looking them in the eyes, like sharing that moment very consciously can help us also regulate and co-regulate. So when we feel safe and we feel calm, we emanate that to the other person, giving them permission also to feel more calm and at ease. And that ripple effect can move through many layers of people and
mm.
generations. It's not easy, but one breath at a time. So thank you very much for being here. I truly appreciate you and being so interactive as well, having these mini pockets of conversations.
Mhm.
Hope that you took something from it. You just share that. And yeah, thank you.
Definitely.
Really,
Thank you so much, Fabi. Yeah, that was really, really insightful. Really, really insightful. Also bringing back the attention like to the vagus nerve and how and the scientific background that you touched upon in terms of okay, what's happening there. Then also with the eyes, getting outside of the comfort zone a little bit to stretch, and then yeah, see discover or another application with children, right? And like how can you apply that already to somebody else that is close to you? So it's very, very
and
nice.
telling,
I will.
sharing that with them so that they don't have to relearn it when they're 30. To
I
actually grow up having the tools of regulating themselves and expressing themselves so that they can
yes,
be more creative from there. Yeah.
absolutely,
What a gift.
absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Thank,
Have a lovely rest of your day.
thank you so much, Fabi. It was a pleasure, definitely a pleasure also seeing you here and seeing you in this space and showing up and yeah, taking the next step into your own mission, right? And like to share that wisdom and then bring it back to the presence, like with your unique style and your touch and your flavor to that and share that knowledge, right? Yeah, I think there's not. I think there are obviously a ton of people that could use that. There's no doubt about that, right? And yeah, I'm
Yeah,
glad
not everybody is ready
to
for it. So,
yeah. Yeah, but I love this. I love the approach because it really brings it to the reality, right, of many, many people that are not like in the spiritual and not connected like to their own sound. It's like, oh, what the fuck, I'm not gonna do that. It's like, okay, now then do something else, whatever, and then kind of
Carol,
like bring yes, and connect, let them connect to those ancient practices that are working, and more people getting aware, and you bring your style to that. So that's awesome. Yeah.
thank you. I
Thank you,
appreciate
Fabi.
it. Bye-bye.
See you soon. Ciao, ciao.
Ooh, and I just realized. All right. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching the replay as well. And yeah, if you want to know more about me and how to work with me, You can find all of the information in my link in LinkedIn bio, about section, feature sections. You can book a call with me for free there as well. And the rest I will share with you in the next session. All right, take care and have a fabulous rest of the week.